everybody, and welcome to the Mixed Pixel Podcast. Episode 2, to my left and your right, I am joined once again by Rob Trainee. And to my right, you say his name with fire, Jose Platenci. Theatrical.
Very.
It's episode 2. We made it through episode 1. We made it through the horrors of premiering an episode of anything. And how do you guys feel?
Good.
You guys feeling good?
Feel good?
You guys feeling on top of the world yet?
We have an air conditioner on, so I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
We became sweaty messes towards the end of episode 1. And it was made worse by the fact that I had a physical meltdown listening to you guys talk about E3 to the point where I was rubbing the sweat all over my body. And you know, so it got a little hot. But welcome, everybody. We hope you enjoyed episode 1. We have a pretty good packed episode 2 coming up for you, a myriad of topics. But the first thing I want to get into, which is the first thing everybody wants to get into instead of watching this, is Pokemon Go. You've been playing it, I've been playing it,
Yep.
You've been playing it, our family's been playing it, old people have been playing it, kids have been playing it, cops have been playing it, EMTs have been playing it, crackheads on the square have been playing it. Everyone's been playing Pokemon Go to the point where it is now the number 1 grossing app in the world currently. It is the number 1 download app in the world currently. And the estimates are, as of now, the headline is it has already grossed $14 million.
Which
Crazy.
is ridiculous.
Wow. It's
for
crazy.
A free-to-play game.
Yeah.
That's only been out
For less than a week?
less than a week. And it's not hard to understand why. There are problems with it. We will get into that. But I think Pokemon Go currently is such a phenomenon, and it is such a...
Also, it's made that kind of money that's not even in a full launch yet.
Yeah, it hasn't
only in a few
hasn't
countries.
globally launched. It's only in a handful of countries. I don't think it's even out in Japan yet, as far as I know. I believe Japan's still waiting for it. As I believe the UK is still waiting for it. So it's not hard to understand why everybody is so into Pokemon. You know, whether they want to admit it or not. Everybody I grew up with through elementary school and through middle school were all into Pokemon. They all played the games. They all watched the anime. They all collected the cards. The cards were all over the classroom. Teachers were confiscating them left and right, probably stealing them for themselves. Holographic Charizard, taking that shit home. I'm not giving that back to that kid. Your parent wants to call me for it? It's my word against yours, you little shit, you know? So, but, you know, Pokemon was a craze back then. And Pokemon has always remained popular throughout the years. It never dimmed its popularity. The games always still sell millions. There's always such a big deal about a new gen being put out. You know, the cards are still popular. The brand of Pokemon has remained strong. But when I say popularity, I don't mean fever. There hasn't been a fever of Pokemon recently. Like, yeah, X and Y came out, big deal. You know, people lining up for the game. It's great, a new gen. But when I think of, like, the Pokemon craze of the 90s, you know, it being everywhere, you know, you can't go anywhere without seeing it. You can't anywhere without an old person making a stupid Pikachu, not a Pikachu reference, you know. It is like that again. It got to that point again thanks to Pokemon Go. You can't go anywhere on the internet without seeing the words Pokemon Go. You can't go anywhere in public without seeing a person playing Pokemon
My
Go.
whole Facebook feed is infights between Mystic and Valor.
It's something that makes me so happy to see. And this is why when people complain about the app crashing or the app freezing or, you know, things going slow or the game lagging when it's around a lot of activity or, you know, things not maybe working up to snuff to what you would maybe think a polished product would work as, I look past those things because to me, like, Pokemon Go is greater than its app. Pokemon Go goes past just the game itself. Like, what I associate with Pokemon Go now is I associate the community. I associate the people you see walking around. I associate the cops, the EMT people, you know, the employees of restaurants and local businesses getting involved and like, just boosting this jubilant, this uproar in the community of, like, I haven't seen this many people walking around downtown in years.
And that's one of my favorite things about it. Like, I love being outside, but there's never anything to do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, you can go for a walk, but I'd like something to do at the same time. And I enjoy being outside, and I enjoy community. And this has allowed me to go outside and see people. And how many people did we talk to today?
We walked around today. We met... we ran into some people walking down the street here. Then we went across the bridge and went to the public park. And we met a guy who just moved here from Ohio with his wife. Yeah. He's new to the town, new to the city. We don't live in a town. He's new to the city. He doesn't know the area that well. He's asking us, like, oh man, where should I go catch Pokemon? I just drove here from Ohio with my wife. I got my baby here.
Like a day ago.
Yeah, like a day ago. He's brand new in town, and this guy knows nobody in town.
And we never would have talked to him.
Yeah, but now he knows us.
We met some 50-something-year-old woman walking around getting her odometer
She was old. She was older than 50. Rob.
She was. I'm terrible with age.
Jose, we walked around today, and we ran into a grandma walking through Kirby Park. And we were with another guy we had met who was in a sun hat. Dude was stoned out of his mind.
Yeah.
He had his dog with him. He's like, "You guys catching Pokemon? I brought my Growlithe or whatever." He says, whatever. The guy was spaced.
He actually said that.
The dude was spaced. Yeah. But he recognized that this old granny walking through the park is also playing the game. So he walks up and he's like, "Hey, did you catch anything?" Oh no, it was more like, "Hey, did you catch anything interesting?" and she was like, "Nope, just rats and birds, but I gotta get my steps in, so I might as well catch some Pokemon." And it's like, what the fuck? This woman is
outrageous.
60 years old.
Yeah.
And then she made a remark about how she has to get her grandson to teach her how to use this thing a little better. But it's so special to see nobody looking at it as, well, I'm not going to say nobody looking at it as some stupid thing, because I have some choice words for the people who want to look at Pokemon Go as this great plague, it's a government conspiracy and they're spying on you with Pokemon, and oh man, people need a reason to go out. We'll touch on that in a moment, but it's so nice to see so many people getting involved and helping each other, and being on public square, and seeing all the Pokestops all have lures on them, and everyone's running through and hearing Pokemon names shouted across the street.
Yeah.
Whereas a week ago, all that was shouted across the street was like, "Yo, motherfucker!" Now it's "I got a Meowth." It's so different out there, and it's so cool, and it's so unified.
And the competition just walking down the street, and there's this spot it's a park on the sidewalk. There's a building there. Now it's a Pokemon gym.
Yeah.
And now you go in, we're standing there 4 people fighting this gym, and we take it over and we put our Pokemon in it.
Which, by the way, that gym has been taken back.
Yeah, it lasted a good long while. Not mine, but yours.
It lasted a good 6-7 hours. But yeah, no, I mean, even the little interplay between the 3 teams, Instinct, Valor, and Mystic. Mostly Valor and Mystic. I don't see Instinct really involved in a lot of the shouting matches between...
I think they have one gym over here with a 300.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of Instinct gyms taking
probably
over.
Gone already.
Our city's mostly Valor for the most part. But
we own the whole city at some point today.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the whole city, but I mean...
Well, the whole general area of downtown Wilkes-Barre. We own 12 gyms.
Yeah. So yeah, just seeing that has been so... I don't want to get so cheesy as to use the word inspiring, but people are getting outside and getting exercise. People are getting out and meeting new friends. They're exploring avenues of their city they've never seen before, certain memorials and certain plaques and certain pieces of history that have been marked as Pokestops.
So you're even learning from it.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm not saying I wasn't expecting it, but I've never seen anything like this before.
Absolutely not.
The company has had another game called Ingress, which has been around for years, but that is nowhere near the popularity of something like Pokemon. So you bring Pokemon to that same concept.
And I think it's a big thing that Nintendo's IPs are their strongest thing. Not their consoles, it's their IPs.
That's what it shows, yeah. I mean, you see how successful this is. They didn't sell this on a Wii U or a 3DS.
Because I guarantee, even if this game cost you $1, maybe $5.
I would have sold some. It doesn't have to be free. It's just that there's no barrier to entry that it's easier, but no, for sure.
There'd still be most of the population. Once people saw it, I would have bought it,
Yeah. So we're all Team Valor, correct?
Oh,
yeah.
We're all Team Valor. We're all Team Valor. We're all friendly.
We're gonna lose all of our all the followers we may get. We're gonna lose because we're Team Valor.
Look, if you got a problem,
but we'll get all the Valor followers.
The insecure Mystic people out there, you got a problem with Team Valor, and if you're Instinct, what are you? A bug on my shoe? You're a bug on my shoe. Get off. I'm Valor. I have so much money. I'll buy new shoes.
After you just said we're polite.
Fuck this. Fuck this. Speaking of anger, Jose, you've seen on the internet, alongside the popularity of Pokemon Go, alongside everybody being so happy, alongside all these people getting outside, getting fresh air, getting sun, meeting new friends, being jolly with their buddies, reconnecting with family members, reconnecting with old friends via Facebook, meeting up with them, having a great time, getting exercise, just overall having a general great time. Alongside that, of course, comes the naysayers, comes the people on Facebook posting things like, if you really need a reason to get out and look at something beautiful, just do it. Our lives are so short on this earth. You needed Pokemon. You needed Pokemon as a reason to go visit your public park. Yeah, because our public parks are dumb. I needed Pokemon to go explore that public park. But regardless, you have a lot of people like that. You have a lot of people hating on the app. You have a lot of people, saying it's a way for the NSA to spy on you because he uses your camera.
Because they need another way.
Yeah. I was friends with someone for a while that I used to work with. This woman, and she is a really big conspiracy theorist. And I would just laugh at all her posts and stuff, and that's where I drew the line, where there was some shitty meme, because they're all shitty memes.
Yeah, Facebook is shitty meme.
Yeah, it is.
Something to the effect of, how do you get everyone to tell the government your location and all the information, all this other bullshit, release an app and call it Pokemon Go. And I was like, we're done. We're done here. I don't care how great her chili was. I haven't spoken to her in like 7 years. We're done. This is our goodbye.
It's so funny that whenever something like this comes around, to watch the like contrarians come out, or the people who can't be asked to just download the free fucking app. There's no barrier to entry to this. And deep down in their rotten heart, there has to be a warm spot that's still beating in there. Like these cold, callous people who will look at something like this, okay? Like the lady we encountered at Kirby Park a few days ago. We were standing there at a Pokestop that had a lure on it. And we were standing around, there were some benches, we were chilling, having a great time, taking a rest from walking all this time, to catch some Pokemon at this lure stop. And this lady comes by, wearing a sweaty headband, she's got these power shorts on. Is that a name for a pair of shorts? They're power shorts now. But a pair of power shorts on. She comes walking down this little grassy knoll. She comes walking down. She's like, it's really sad when you know what kids are up to these days just by seeing them stand around with their phones out. Real sad. Real sad. She kept repeating that as she walked. Real sad. Like, okay, first of all, it's enough that she's probably at home posting this shit on Facebook all day and like sharing the memes, like of the John Goodman with the gun. Am I the only one around here who doesn't give a shit about Pokemon Go? Like, or whatever. Or like a picture of like a sophisticated man in a suit, like everyone's running around playing Pokemon Go, but I have shit to do. Like that's a meme. Like I've seen that.
Yeah.
Like okay, so like it's enough that she's going home posting that stuff, but now she's walking in public and she has no problem spouting off her status updates out loud to people because she's past the point of caring. This lady's life blows. She's walking through the park by herself, just hating on people, hanging out with their friends, having a great time in a public space that was a week ago vacant. Mm-hmm. What is your word for people like that, Jose? What do you have? What is your message for the grumps and the grouches who are going to go home and be alone instead of outside having a great time with friends and strangers alike, uniting over the common goal of taking down King Mystic? What is your message for these people? What is your message for these people?
Shut up. Get over it. I mean, we're not. No one. I'm not going to say us, but there's a very small group that we're hurting people, but we're not hurting anybody. Mm-hmm. As you said, there's a large sense of community anymore, and regardless of the team that you may be on, besides Valor being the best one, there's like it doesn't matter. Like everyone is going out now, and here's the thing that bothers me: it's usually the older people. Which, obviously, I have nothing against older people. That's just ridiculous.
Hey, older demographic, if you're still watching, you didn't tune out yet. We love you. We got content coming up for you soon, I think. No, we don't. Episode 3, old episode. Old episode. We're talking about Pitfall.
The first.
I don't know. I think our next topic has to do with an old person, actually.
It does. Sort of.
So we'll get to that.
But, again, they're saying, you need an excuse to go outside. I'm just worried about kids not paying attention and running out into the street and getting hit by a car. I've seen 2 kids playing this game so far. 2. And they were surrounded by, when we were at the square, they were surrounded by at least, 30 of us?
Yeah.
Who were all interested in the same thing. And
they're with their parents.
Here's the thing. In our squares, usually we have in our downtown area, where we have our unsightly individuals that come in and they're kind of scary. Mm-hmm. We outnumbered them. They left.
Yeah.
They just walked away. They didn't say anything, but they left because they weren't the majority anymore.
Yeah, we went down to the square today, and instead of just people laying on benches with, brown bags full of beer, actually there was one, but instead of mostly that, there was patches of people just hanging out and doing
Smiling.
something.
Sitting in circles, like skateboarding, like riding
enjoying the
bikes.
square for what it is. In public park.
I have a friend who grew up never having an interest in Pokemon. She was around that age when it was out, and she picked it up. She started playing it. Now she's hooked. She has to catch them all, but she's been going through a rough time recently, and she's been constantly like almost depressed and just not in a good mental state. And she pointed out to me the other day that she's been stress free since she started playing it. She's not sad. She hasn't texted me crying about anybody. She's just been happy. She's been distracted in the best way possible. And you know what? She has a job. So first of all, that's the one thing that really bothers me. And this is why I point out to the other people, oh, all these 20-somethings have to go get a job. The majority of people have it. How the fuck do they have that smartphone?
Yeah.
Unless they also drive a BMW, they probably bought it themselves. And I mean, the job market in this area, to be fair, isn't all that great. In particular, if you want to have a job and go to school here. And I hope no one gets the wrong idea. We don't live in like a really like shitty, dangerous area.
No, yeah, we keep alluding to the point. We keep alluding to like the fact that like, oh man, ever since Pokemon Go came out, nobody's died. Like nobody's OD'd in public in front of kids since Pokemon Go came out. Nobody shot at the mayor since they've been catching drowsies.
We don't live in a John Singleton movie. This is, I mean, it's just certain areas that are just not as friendly as others.
Yeah.
With downtown being one of those areas, with the exception of that like 2-block radius that I live on.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just these people are out there. They're gathering and they're having a good time, and I saw an article also as well. They never hit me. I always saw that the physical health benefits of it. Mm-hmm. People are going out there walking. And they're not just
hatch them eggs, man.
They're not just walking like down the street, coming back home and eating a double cheeseburger. They're walking miles and miles. Like the smallest egg you can get is a 2-kilometer egg, which is what, like maybe just like a mile and a half, something like that. Just over a mile, something like that. Because I know
Take your word for it.
I know that the 5-kilometer one is 3 miles.
Yeah,
roughly 3 miles. And now it's not like people are just going out and they're just hatching this one egg. All right, I'm gonna go home. No. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna binge on Netflix till I knock out with a sandwich in my mouth. No, they're out there like, I want to hatch these eggs. I'm gonna walk like a fucking madman. Yeah. The only thing that's probably stopping them is the fact that it's draining their battery and they gotta go back.
Yeah. That's the one thing. What I want to say, like, I see a lot of posts of like, man, it's just scaring me that there's people in the neighborhood who are possibly not paying attention while walking or driving, putting others' lives at risk. Like, no, I'm not looking at my phone the whole time because it's going to drain my fucking battery. Mm-hmm. I have that shit in battery saver mode facing down. I'm barely looking at my screen unless I'm catching a Pokemon, as is everybody else. Oh, that 1-2 seconds you glanced over and saw them looking at their phone, that's not every moment that they're playing this game. They can't because you won't be able to play it.
They're not crossing the street with their phones in their hand. Not most of them.
And here's the other thing, too. What was stopping people from looking at their phones beforehand?
Exactly.
People were anyway.
They already were.
What all of a sudden the don't text and drive campaign doesn't exist. And don't be on your cell phone while driving doesn't exist. None of that. Yeah. All of that disappeared when Pokemon Go came out, and this is the absolute sole problem. And that's what they're making it sound like. I know that's what. And if anyone watches it and they're on that side of the spectrum, they're like, no, that's not what we're saying at all, dickhead. Well, it's what you're making it sound.
Here's my message, okay, and then we'll move on to our closing thoughts on Pokemon Go, and then we'll move on to the new Overwatch character that was announced and is now on the PTR. To those people, okay, if you are listening to this, Jose has said like, there is a very big possibility that those types of people might be listening to the show, and this maybe isn't the best way to go out the gate, but to the people who sit in big grouches, who want to sit and just no regard and say things out loud to people who are having a good time with their friends, like the lady we ran into, who has no problem making a comment out loud. These people who aren't just on Facebook, sharing these stupid memes to people who want to go out and make people feel like crap for gathering around and getting outside and getting into the community and meeting strangers and meeting people from out of town, like welcoming people into the community and making people feel welcome and meeting new friends and helping each other. And there's a Pokemon over here.
And smiling. Especially during times like now.
And getting exercise, and doing all of these things. If you're one of those people who's going to sit inside and rip that because, you can't go outside unless your reason is making others feel like shit, then don't watch this show. Don't ever click another episode of Mixed Pixel. And if that is what you're like, I don't want you anywhere near me on social media. I don't want. And if it's one of my friends who you happen to click this and you hold that opinion, don't ever talk to me ever again. Don't ever go near me. There's no room and no time to deal with people who have nothing better to do but to diminish what other people are doing. And that goes for anything. I bet if people don't sit at home and diminish you for whatever it is you'd like to do. That lady who walked by us in the park, we were walking up on the dike, the hill that wraps around the park. What is she doing with a bunch of little boys playing contact football? Hey, fine. If you wouldn't have said anything to us, I wouldn't have thought a second about the fact that you're out there tackling a bunch of 13-year-old boys and you're 48 years old. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. I would have walked past and not really looked and just kind of been like, okay, they're playing football. But no, the fact that I recognized you already because you had the nerve to walk by us and say that what we're doing is real sad and what everyone else is doing is real sad. The fact that everyone's out having a good time with their friends and family and strangers, that's real fucking sad. That's so sad. The fact that I am exploring areas of my city I've never seen before. I'm out there walking miles when a week ago I wasn't. Then, where was I going?
Just stay away.
No one's saying, yeah. Get away from us. You're the sad one.
Everyone has their opinions, and everyone's entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the point being made here is don't cut someone down because you don't understand, or appreciate what they're into.
Let people enjoy things.
As an example, I'm not the biggest football fan. But when the Super Bowl comes around, I don't tell people anything because I know they're enjoying themselves. Yeah. They're out there at their parties, they're having their wings and dip, their beer.
Dude,
that's great.
The Pokemon Go posts are just as bad as the Super Bowl posts that you see all over Twitter when the Super Bowl comes. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at all like the tweet will just be like sports ball.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens with the ball? Does it go to the goal line? I don't know. And it's mostly games media people who are making these tweets because, oh man, you can't be a nerd and like sports. Go fuck. There's no crossing the streams there.
There's just no need to, like I said, there's no need to cut somebody down for enjoying something. Unless that's pedophilia. That's a different story.
Yeah. That's where I was getting at, though, with I wouldn't have thought twice about that woman playing football with those little boys.
Yeah.
But the fact that this woman already cut us down for what we're doing, okay, I'm going to judge you now. But, at the same time, it's I never would have thought anything of it because she's out having fun. Maybe that's her family. That's the thing. You don't know. You don't know unless you talk to these people. Maybe they are her family, but because I'm seeing it from a distance and I already have a preordained thought of her in my head of this woman's probably a fuckface. I'm going to imagine that these kids are not her family and she's just a creep who just walked upon this pickup football game and goes, could I play? And they probably are so scared of this sweaty, disgusting person that they just said yes. But I wouldn't have judged her otherwise. But she had already fucked with Team Valor. So Pokemon Go, what are you guys' impressions of your first few days playing it?
Big fan. It's gotten me out there. I'm talking to people. And it's free.
Exactly.
Everybody I work with, people that I don't even have anything in common with at work, I talk to them about Pokemon Go now. So I'm happy with it. Very happy.
That's what I was going to say, too. It's hard. People say, oh, you need it. I'm still ranting. I'm sorry. But, people, one of the other big complaints is, oh, you need an excuse to talk to other people. Well, yeah. How do you know someone?
You don't just walk up to somebody in the park and be like, "Hey, what's up? No one's things that I like."
Yeah, no one is just on 24/7. Oh man, Bill, he's the best conversationalist in town. You walk up to him, mention one thing, Flakes. He just goes off and on. He's the nicest guy I know. So approachable. He can talk to you for hours about anything. You don't need anything to talk to him about because that man's just a walking encyclopedia.
No, as you see, you're both doing the same thing.
We're not all talk show hosts. We're not all talk show hosts. We're not just gonna walk up to people. Hey. Do you like chips? So do I. Let's sit down that bench and talk for an hour about chips. Maybe we have something else in common.
So, what's your next movie about? No, not everybody has a team of writers behind them 24/7. We're all people. We're all complicated. We can't all just be on 24/7.
And growing up, what made high school so difficult for me was that I suffered from social anxiety, and I still get it every once in a while. If I feel more eyes on me than from people I don't know, I immediately start sweating. The room gets smaller, and I just start getting claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. But now I'm out there, and I've had several people walk up to me. I've walked up to several people with no problem, smiles, because I know, okay, whatever this person may think of me, it doesn't even matter because we have this one thing in common, and that's all that matters right now.
Yep.
We're just going to be cool with each other. But, otherwise, I would see him walking down the street, and if he makes eye contact with me, I'm like, oh, fuck. What's going to happen
Look at
next?
the ground.
Please don't say hello to me. But now it's like, say hello to me. What do you got? What Pokemon do you got?
Especially when they bring the update when we get to trade.
Yep.
Yes, trading will be huge. Because they will still probably make it where you got to be in proximity. You're not going to be able to trade with some guy in Kentucky. You're still going to have to trade within... So, the public square will be a trading... Yeah, this whole game is
They'll probably use, the Pokestops.
This whole game is about promoting interaction and community. There's no doubt in my mind public square will be full of people trading and battling when that stuff comes out. So overall, Pokemon Go has been nothing but a huge success for me. It crashes, it freezes every now and then when you get to high traffic areas. That stuff, I overlook that stuff because all it takes is a simple restart of the app. And as I'm restarting it, I take that second to look around, and you look around at everybody walking around and catching Pokemon.
Here's another thing to consider, too, is with all the issues that it does currently have, with the constant crashing, especially where it just locks up when you're trying to catch something, we still play it, and we don't complain as much as we would with anything. Even when I get even if I'm playing a free-to-play game and something goes wrong, it's constant crashing or whatever. I remember playing what's that one shooter that they released on the PS4 on launch as well, the free-to-play one, Blacklight.
Blacklight Retribution.
When it just launched on the PC, I remember there was a lot of lagging issues and stuff, and I was like, "Oh fuck this!" I uninstalled it. I didn't pay for it at all.
No time to waste. Life is short.
But this is just something that we've, as Pokemon fans, we've just been wanting.
Yeah, you put up with it because, you restart the app for a second. Oh man, I missed out on that Growlithe, or I missed out on that high CP Eevee or whatever.
I missed out on the Parasect earlier.
Yeah, I missed out on the Parasect, or you missed out on the Victory Bell, or whatever. The point stands. I don't have to keep making examples. As you restart the app, you're out with your friends, you're out in public, or you're out in the wild, or you're doing whatever, and you look around and there's people happy, there's people laughing, there's strangers becoming friends, mass hysteria. It's a Ghostbusters reference. We're not sponsored by Sony or Ghostbusters. Melissa McCarthy, I hope the best for you. It's so impressive and it's so special to me to see it. Even my smaller neighborhood, away from the downtown areas, seeing the gyms constantly shifting leadership. Knowing that there's people walking around my blocks, around my house, playing this game, and when there'd be nobody walking around my streets anymore. Times have changed since I was a kid. Not many people are around playing, even kids in my neighborhood, not even just adults. Nobody's walking around my streets anymore, but it's different now. And, who knows how long this will last, but until, the day comes where Pokemon Go, maybe its light maybe fades, depends on how they update it. Right now, I think this is one of the... most again, it's hyperbole in a way, and the game isn't even like that revolutionary in terms of its gameplay mechanics, but it's one of the most special releases to come upon us in a long time, and I think it took a lot of people off guard because a lot of people aren't like us, and they don't pay attention to every bit of news that comes out about certain things. The app just kind of fucking launched we were all waiting for it. I didn't know it. I saw the Reddit post Pokemon Go was launched, and I'm like, what? Okay, all right, no fanfare or anything.
I didn't even know what it was until a day before launch.
So just seeing how much fervor it has gained since then is really something special. But yeah, I'm excited to see its potential. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. They have so many things they can add to it, so many things that they can improve on its current formula. I know there are those who are disappointed that it doesn't connect one-to-one with the progression and structure of the handheld games. The battles are not turn-based. They're real-time. You're clicking your opponent, and then you're also able to dodge by moving left or right, which is... Any act of timing has never been an aspect of Pokemon battles before. They've always been turn-based RPG fights. So, implementing that is obviously going to piss off some of the purists. It's a lot different than regular Pokemon battles. You don't level up your Pokemon by fighting. You level them up using Stardust and Candy. Which again, it goes against everything that the handheld games have set into precedence. It's a lot different. It is a mobile game. You pretty much progress your units the same exact way you progress any unit in a mobile RPG through a weird currency or whatever. You're melting shit down and making them stronger. So those aspects are a lot different than the handheld game. So the mechanics are going to be different. But despite all of that, I think Pokemon Go is a different beast in those games, and I think it's okay because that doesn't make those handheld games redundant when those games do come out. Yeah, I'm excited. The future is bright for Pokemon Go and our weight loss.
Yeah.
Put a check in it. Pokemon Go talk complete.
Right, so
Anything else you want to say? Any closing comments on Pokemon Go?
Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourselves. Be
That's
safe.
all that matters.
Ignore the shit. Ignore the bullshitters.
And in all seriousness, don't drive and try to play this game. Just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to fuel their fire, and you don't want to hurt yourself.
And all you're going to find is
anyone else.
Weedle anyway. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it. Like, goddamn Weedle.
Don't even put the game on when
or
you're in the car.
Zubat, where you're gonna waste 30 Pokeballs.
Because here's what happens, okay? You're in the passenger seat and you're playing and someone else is driving. You are driving past Pokemon. I caught a Growlithe while in the passenger seat today. And I'm like, man, like if I would have had that on as I was driving and I'm trying to pay attention, like, oh, I gotta hit the Growlithe! Ah! And then you fall off a cliff. Whatever. It was like the middle of the city.
For everyone that lives near cliffs.
Cliff out for them. Yeah, don't drive near cliffs.
Just don't do it, whether you're playing the game or not.
Yeah.
Don't drive near cliffs.
Avoid cliffs.
So yeah, Pokemon Go. Next topic down the list. Just revealed today, as of recording this. When you guys see this, it will already be a few days deep and people will already have their impressions on the PTR of the brand new Overwatch character, Ana.
Which so far seems to be very positive.
Yes, the internet is super happy with it. I'm super happy with it.
I'm looking forward to her.
I'm really happy with
Ana, for those of you guys who don't know, I will put a picture of her up on the screen and maybe a little bit of footage. For those of you guys who haven't seen it already, just kind of overlaid over the top. Ana is the mother of Farah. You can watch the little video explaining her background and her little message to her daughter, which I thought that video was quite well done.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the art was really good. Ana is a support character who uses a sniper rifle to shoot heals at people and then also shoot damage over time, afflictions on her enemies. She also has a sleeper gun that puts people to sleep with a trank dart. She also has
She has
a grenade.
It's like a grenade. She throws it. All allies in the field get a slight heal, and their healing is increased. So if they're in this field and they get healed by Mercy, or if it's a Roadhog, their healing is extreme.
Yeah.
But it stops enemies from healing. So if you have enemies in the field, they cannot be healed, no matter what, until the field goes away or they
Yeah,
get
so
out.
you can use it as either a support or like as a support or as a I guess support either way, but in a more
some
offensive
supports
way.
can still fight, but it's a good support where you can jump.
It's good
between.
utility. It's a good utility.
Very
There you
mobile. You shoot because you shoot everything. You shoot your allies. You shoot your enemies.
No matter where you use
You're
it, it's
not
going to be
jumping
helpful.
between heal
And then,
and damage.
and then her ultimate is
Her ultimate is I forget the name of it.
it's like beam or something.
She throws it onto an ally, and that ally gets increased speed, increased damage, and increased damage reduction. So they take less damage. So in the video, they show her throw it on a Reinhardt. He just runs in, swings his hammer,
Yeah, so it's
just
wiping everyone out.
wrecks everything.
Dynasty Warriors action.
And I guarantee you,
Lubu.
Ana Amari and Genji are going to be a big thing in the meta. Those Dragon Blades are going to be nuts. It's going to piss you off to no end. It's coming.
Do you mean like having her put her
Like she's
ultimate
going to
on
throw
a
it on, and
Genji?
he's going to use his ult, and he's just
And
going to
just
run around and
rip everyone apart.
destroy. And I can't wait actually.
So
'cause
this
I love
is
Genji.
so this is where we are 2 months off of the release of Overwatch, just about. They've announced a new character after 2 months. Presumably that character will be out very soon.
Yeah.
It's already on the public test realm. People are already playing as her on PC, giving her a go about, as well as some other balance changes and whatnot. Do you see this as like an indication of Blizzard sticking to like a 2-month schedule for heroes? 2 to 3 months?
2 months? I don't know. I definitely believe like 3.
Yeah, 3 to possibly 4.
You said it before. Between seasons makes the most sense because the competitive seasons are 2.5 months and they shut down for half a month. And that half a month is an ideal time to release a character because then everyone can play them and quick play and get good at them instead of jumping into competitive and being terrible at the character. Because they will do that.
Yeah, people do that with characters they've been playing for months. So, yeah, just imagine when it's a new character.
What I really want to know is what they plan to do with maps because it seems they're not planning on releasing a map with her.
Yeah, it
Or else they'd have that
it doesn't
playtesting
seem-
as
yeah, it
well.
doesn't
So
seem
I
to be
feel
the
like they're
case.
actually going to release multiple maps at a time instead of one. But we'll see. in the
I would
future.
prefer that. I would prefer that than... Maybe it'll be this. Because the way this is looking, it's looking like Anna's going to come out before the season ends. It's on the
And then
PTR.
maybe be locked from competitive.
And Probably not.
Not even that?
It's a really experimental season 1 to the point where they're probably like, just fuck it, you know, to the point where they're already making game changing changes to competitive play in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
like limiting teams to only having one of a character a piece, like instead of being able to stack 3 Torbjorns or 3 Winstons or you know whatever multiples of whatever, just one per team, which I think is interesting because you're gonna get a lot of fights between people. Which is what happens in MOBAs when somebody picks a character, but the other person wants to play as. You have one jabroni pop up and go like.
But the difference here is you can switch your character.
That's true.
Hero switching is still the name of the game.
Yeah,
and that's what's still putting it apart. You can switch to be a counter to somebody or to stop being countered.
But of course there will be fights, 100%.
Let them fight.
Yeah, we'll see how the community shakes this one out and see if it's a change that gets adjusted to maybe 2 per team.
I think it might be adjusted to 2 in the future. And I'd be very happy with that, because, fighting 5 Torbjorns, not only is it frustrating, it's just not fun. I'm playing the game to have fun.
Fighting more than 1 Torbjorn's not fun at all.
And I still play the game every day. I have I might have over 100 hours in the game now, and that little, play marker, that's just in-game time. So that's not even including the menus I've sat through. And all the times I've just looked through everybody's skins and emotes.
Yeah, so it's exciting. It's exciting to, we've only had the game in our hands for 2 months, but it's for people who've played the beta much longer. But it's super exciting to see a fresh face.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of hype watching the gameplay demonstration of it, because it's like, man,
it's a good character, too. Not just that we're getting someone new, but we're getting someone who seems to be fun to play with.
She's rad.
She's really cool. I love the character design.
And
it's an older woman. Like, she's white hair and all. I think that's really neat.
This is funny because it puts to rest a lot of the criticisms people are shelling at Blizzard. Like, did I ever tell you the one of the things people... It was like a headline. I forget website, or maybe it was not a website. Maybe it was just a Reddit post where they said, like, oh, Blizzard found a way to make every older female young, even though they're old. Like, like all these heroes are like have been around for as many years as each other. They've all been around in Overwatch for the most part, as colleagues for the same amount of time. But like, oh, Mei was frozen, so she stays young looking. Oh, Tracer was stuck in a time loop, so she stays young looking. Widowmaker's like affliction in her blood, like slows her aging down, so she's still young looking. All these things, like every excuse to make every female character look like a hot, sexy babe. But then you have Anna come out and she's gray. She's like the female Soldier 76.
Yeah, I think it's funny because she's now our third character who everybody thought I was dead, but I'm not, and now I'm back with Reaper and Soldier 76. So it's a pretty funny thing, and I feel like we're not going to see the end of that.
What I'm interested in is I love all the background lore with Overwatch, and I love the way they set the scene for everything, and I thought the way they introduced Anna was great.
And they even set it up so that she's entering it now, even though the game isn't canon. She's entering the story now, later.
Like that's what I want to see. Like obviously Anna was it. I assume her character is known by some of the members in Overwatch. Like she's been around these characters before, and trained Farah up as from a kid, and I want to see them add a character who none of these people have ever seen before.
Someone new in the frame.
No connection to anybody.
That would be cool.
I want to see how they handle stuff like that, going forward, because Overwatch presumably will be going on for decades. Like Team Fortress and all of Blizzard's games last for so many years. This excites me so much, because I've never been around to experience the fervor of them adding a new character to a MOBA, because I don't play MOBAs. I don't like MOBAs, but I know people get super excited when they announce new characters, because oh man, that's new gameplay for us to experiment with. They've been playing with these characters for so many hours. We finally have new toys to play with, and it's super exciting to see it. When I saw her, I'm like, man, it's cool to see a new face. So I'm pumped for that.
And we're also getting Diva buffs.
Yeah, we're getting some balance changes as well.
And they sound great, because I already play a decent amount of Diva, and I enjoy her. And now they're changing her, what's it called?
The shield.
The front shield. I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now.
Diva's shield.
Diva's shield. They're changing it to a Reinhardt shield, in a sense, where she can hold it up, and it just absorbs incoming damage, especially since her whole front is a big hitbox.
Yeah.
A critical hitbox.
Which is a good change, because now there's
now she can actually tank.
Yeah.
She's not going to die from her own ult anymore, so she can actually throw it and then get on the point. A lot of good changes. I'm glad they got the feedback, and even though she was in the beta and tested, they're still doing this after release. It's a big change her character.
Blizzard
I'm really happy with that.
Blizzard is...
They're doing great with the balance.
They're notorious for the constant tuning of all of their games, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Blizzard will be at that for years. There will be changes for every character in every patch, most likely, whether it's minor or not. And they're notorious for pissing the community off for a lot of their nerfs and buffs throughout the history of World of Warcraft,
Yeah.
so we'll see how they do with Overwatch.
But so far, they've done great with Overwatch.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the McCree nerf was good.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to play McCree now, but it should be. So it's fair. I'm sure it's better on PC.
Yeah. Yeah, we play on console, for anyone wondering.
Yeah, we're a bunch of peasants.
Play on PS4. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I am too.
I
I
don't
don't
have to
actually
get
care.
berated by some guy in text chat because I picked a character he wanted to play.
That's fair. That's going to be a big thing. It's like, oh, we lost because Anna didn't shoot to heal me.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm glad I don't have to deal with that.
But, yeah, I'm excited. There are more balanced changes in those patch notes, but
yeah, they were all
a lot of them I don't really
relatively
remember.
minor. I think Zenyatta got a shield buff.
Zenyatta
which
got a
is good.
shield buff, shield and health buff, 50 a pop.
Oh, really?
And his orbs are going to travel like 90 points faster, whatever the fuck.
McCree
that
got
is.
a range buff for his primary fire as well.
I like that.
A lot of nice, like, simple things that are helping with the game.
Yeah.
So Overwatch, bright future ahead. Blizzard supporting the game in a timely manner. New character coming. We'll see more with her at Comic-Con.
Yep.
I assume after the season ends, that's when we'll see new maps.
Yeah.
It's a weird balance of like, oh, let's add a character in the middle of a season. Maybe not the best thing. It shakes up the meta. But I think what will be worse is releasing maps in the middle of a competitive season because a lot of strategies are based around maps. You could probably fit Anna into a strategy on these maps currently.
That's true.
But you can't fit a new map into a competitive play because everyone's running off chickens with their head cut off. You know, like, where do I go? You know,
Learning the shortcuts.
Yeah. So I think Anna's playstyle is easily adaptable into the current meta. I think it will shift things up, and I think that's interesting. For how long seasons will be, 2 to 3 months a piece, I think it's inevitable, but they're going to be releasing new stuff in the middle of those. I think it's not fair to stop content coming out because it might hurt someone's comp or something, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it's always a delicate balance because you don't want to piss people off and you don't want to ruin something, but competitive play needs a lot of fixes anyway, so it's cool. I like that they are getting the ball rolling with this. I was worried we wouldn't see anything for a while. Blizzard's notorious for being slow with WoW, so I was curious. But either way, great news. Check it off the list. Next up on the itinerary for things is our topic of the week. It ties into one specific game, but not tied down to one specific game, because it also ties back into Overwatch in a way. Evolve, the heavily award-winning E3 impressive monster asymmetrical multiplayer game from the wonderful developers at Turtle Rock Studios who brought you the super fun Left 4 Dead. How could this game suck? Evolve.
The most award-winning flop.
Evolve went free to play on PC this past week in a move that I think shocked nobody. I think a lot of people were wondering why the game wasn't free to play to begin with. It was the way the game was built was part of its demise. What was so sad about Evolve was that the core of the gameplay was really cool. It was really fun playing as the monster and the hunters. For me personally, my experience with the game, I'm the only one of the three who was a sucker who shelled full price for this fucking game, because with the promise of playing it with friends, it was fun. It was shallow though in terms of its content, and the problem and the reason why it just fell off the edge of the earth so fast is because they supported it post launch, but they supported it post launch behind some of the largest paywalls I think I've ever seen. You know, you have new monsters coming out and new hunters coming out. These things were costing so much money. Yeah. Monster Season Pass cost a lot of money. The Hunter Season Pass was different. There was like multiple Season Passes for like, oh, you want to buy just the Hunters, you want to buy the monsters. How about you just don't do any of that? Don't put any of that in front of anyone's face. You just sold us a $60 game with just multiplayer, which isn't a problem. We'll get into that in a moment. I don't have an issue with that. But that's already a trigger for some people to go off on rants. So watch where you're stepping when you lay out your post-launch plans and how you're going to modernize this game for the future. You know, you did it so well with Left 4 Dead. Evolve was handled so poorly, and they had no idea like that why people were mad. You'd see them try to damage control it afterwards. There's nothing wrong with our pay structure, or this or that. There's exact quotes out there. There's exact quotes of what they said. So that's just kind of dimming it down. They didn't see why, and the player numbers dwindled to the point where there's maybe 100 people playing on Steam. I don't know how many people are playing on PS4. There's no way to tell. So the game's next logical step, with its model in place that it already had, was, hey, why don't we go free to play? So Evolve went free to play. Alongside that, they seem to have taken a lot of feedback in terms of the game's gameplay. They seem to have swallowed their pride and went, okay, yeah, there were things wrong with the way this worked, the way that worked. They changed the entire way you obtain heroes and monsters. Those season passes are no longer relevant for the people who shelled out like $200 for them. Like, I'm sorry. I hope they apologize to you in some way. I hope they come to your house and shake your hand or whatever.
Or shake whatever.
Yeah, shake whatever. Come on. This is free to play, but
yeah, weren't the hunters like $8 each?
Yeah, it was really expensive.
Really?
I'm not sure on the exact price point, but it was
It
was
$8 each.
It was in that ball.
And so were the monsters. The monsters like
And
like
these
8
were
or
just
$10.
skins. These were hunters that played differently.
These were characters,
Yeah.
correct.
They were characters. It was
Now,
the same.
The game has gone free to play. They changed up a lot of fundamentals. They changed up the entire way you obtain characters and monsters. It now works exactly like a MOBA, like League or Heroes of the Storm, where there are characters every week on a free rotation, and you gain in-game currency, and then you could buy the characters you like playing. Everything is unlocked via game now. Everything is unlocked from playing. Everything is unlocked. There's no monetization in the game at all right now. I assume they're going to be adding it in. But in the current free-to-play state on PC, there is no way to spend a dime on the game. Not a single way.
Being able to buy currency, they're probably going to increase the amount of money you would have to spend to buy these hunters with in-game currency.
Could
and
be.
then sell you the currency.
Could be. Yeah, we'll see how they handle it once they get everybody, if they get everybody back in.
Mm-hmm.
Free-to-play is always the EpiPen of a dying game. Let's bring it back to life by making it free. And that'll automatically fix all the problems with it. Both Evolve, they did take some extra steps to improve on the formula of it. So, Evolve obviously failed because of the way that they handled their monetization. Now, this topic isn't mostly just about Evolve. I wanted to use Evolve kind of as a jumping off point because it was one of those $60 multiplayer-only games with no campaign that kind of got everybody with their pitchforks up for any other game after that follows the same philosophy of, oh, this is a multiplayer-only game. There's no single-player campaign. There's nothing else besides the multiplayer, and we think that's worth $60. Evolve coming out and failing so hard with their monetization system and just failing so hard in general because without all of the stuff you'd be spending real money on, that game didn't have a lot of content. It had like 3 maps or whatever, it had like 3 monsters to play as. It didn't have a lot going for it. It had nowhere near the replayability of Left 4 Dead. So the game was criticized big time, and for great reason. Titanfall was criticized as well. Battlefront was criticized as well for being multiplayer only, no campaign. Not a lot of maps, not a lot of unlockables, whatever. In this world, one of the biggest arguments that happens when games are announced, whether they're single player or multiplayer, is it worth your $60? And people will fight to the death arguing this about games. Whether it's worth arguing about it for some games or whether it's not worth arguing about it for some games. The big ticket when it comes to arguing about this in games nowadays are the multiplayer-only games. When Overwatch came out, you saw, or I saw, I'm speaking in general terms, on Twitter, quite a few people asking, does Blizzard get a free pass for their multiplayer-only shooter with 12 maps and no single-player campaign? Why didn't EA and DICE get a pass for Battlefront for being a multiplayer-only shooter with like 12 maps and no campaign? The difference, for the people who don't understand the difference, why Blizzard got a free pass, it is not because they're Blizzard. Blizzard takes a heap of shit from people all the time. Those developers who work on WoW are no stranger to getting shit flung at them from the streets. Not literally. So, Blizzard isn't some innocent company. They're known for their quality. They make quality games. So does DICE. It has nothing to do with DICE either. Nor does it really have the fact to do with EA. Well, kind of. Kind of. It's the business model in general. And it's not just EA's fault. The reason Battlefront got pooped on for being multiplayer only in 60 bones isn't because it's multiplayer only in 60 bones. It's also because the game was announced with a $50 season pass. You know what was not announced with a $50 season pass? Overwatch. All of Overwatch's post-launch content will be free. Why was Evolve given shit for being 60 bones multiplayer only, no campaign, because all the post-launch content is locked behind this massive paywall.
Massive.
Why was Titanfall criticized for being multiplayer only, no single-player campaign, $60? It was announced with a season pass, which was eventually all given out for free. But the point stands, at the time of this game's inception, and at the time of this game's launch, was there enough content in the game to keep people going? And, I think so. I think you can easily get 60 hours out of playing Titanfall. You can easily get 60 hours playing Evolve. It's a matter of there maybe not being enough maps. But the reason for the outrage is because of the business models that go into these games. But what I want to talk about, now that I've clarified that for the people who maybe don't understand, is for you guys, personally, I know we all play a lot of multiplayer games. All of us do. It's probably primarily what we all play. Jose, for you, are you comfortable spending $60 on a game that's multiplayer only and no campaign?
Yeah. It all depends on the game itself. If it's something that I'm not familiar with, which is a lot of multiplayer games,
yeah.
Then no, absolutely not, because I don't know if, and again, there's a keyword that I used earlier with Pokemon Go, I don't know if I'm going to have fun, if I'm going to enjoy myself. That's why I personally, as you guys know, I didn't get Overwatch when it just launched. I didn't play the beta. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't. And then after I heard how much everyone was having fun, some of my friends who aren't very good at shooters at all were having fun. And then I finally got to watch you guys play it. I'm all right. This looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go out and get it now. And I got it, and I enjoyed it. It was absolutely worth the $60 to me. And I'm only level 10. I haven't played that much, but it was fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's easily worth the time for me because I've got 100 hours in it already. How many games do I put 100 hours in?
Whereas,
Fallout and Skyrim, maybe.
Yeah. Whereas an example that I used last week with my meet with Battlefield, I've been a fan since 1942 launched.
I've been a fan since 1942.
I'm a vampire, folks. You're looking at it. Since
is immortal.
I've been playing Battlefield since it launched with Battlefield 1942. I played the mods. The only expansion I didn't play was Secret Weapons of World War II, but I've had every Battlefield after that. And even after I built my PC, one of the first games I went and bought was, because I didn't have the capability to play it, was Battlefield 2, 1942, all the expansions for it. But I'm comfortable with getting those because it's a game that has continuously not let me down. So I know I'm going to enjoy myself one way or another. Because I like the large-scale battles. I like the teamwork that you're supposed to have, but you don't because the medic never revives you because they're fucking idiots. And no one drops ammo when you're chasing them. Drop ammo. It's just one button, one key. Just drop it. You get points for it. But yeah, Overwatch, I was very careful with it because I wasn't familiar with it. I didn't know.
But it's a matter of you would agree knowing what you're buying, right? And looking into it, and reading impressions, looking at the business model, this game is multiplayer only and $60, but how is it modernized? How are they? What's the promise to the devs going forward? Am I comfortable shelling out $60 for this? Doesn't matter if it has 6 maps, 7 maps, 8 maps. Fuck it, doesn't matter. Am I going to be treated well by this game?
Right.
That comes into the comfortability of spending $60 on a multiplayer-only game.
Yeah, and that also plays into the whole season pass thing.
Yeah.
Because the base game can be fantastic, but then I might be hesitant with the season pass as well, because, for all I know, it's shit.
Yeah.
I can pay either $60 for this game that I'm going to enjoy for a few hundred hours, or I can pay $110, enjoy this game that I'm going to play for a few hundred hours, and then never play the DLC because the maps are horrible.
Yeah. That's the thing. Is why some multiplayer only games work and some don't in the eyes of the community, and why some succeed, why some keep their community, and why some don't. I would argue Battlefield's a multiplayer only game. It has a campaign, but who the fuck plays it?
I only played it to get the guns. And even then, I didn't give a shit about it.
I'm sure people will play Battlefield 1's campaign because it's it's going back to a different time period. It's like, oh, I want to see, you know, the set pieces set back in this time period instead of just seeing the same old
And I honestly
COD
still
4
don't have
campaign.
I honestly still don't have my hopes too high for that either.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's gonna be pretty
all the effort is put in the multiplayer.
Right.
You know, it's one of those like features in the back of the box that's tacked on just so someone doesn't bitch about it on the internet, but it's missing the campaign.
Right.
So, but I would argue Battlefield's a multiplayer only game. So, like, what it comes down to, like, why some of these games work, why some of them don't, like why Overwatch is such a huge, rousing success. Besides the fact that Blizzard made a stellar game, besides the fact that Blizzard marketed it so well, besides the fact that Blizzard created a believable world with characters you want to play as, characters you want to get to know, characters you want to learn about, characters you want to learn to play, you know, and this visually appealing designs and maps and weapons and music and sound design. And besides the fact that Blizzard made a fucking incredible game, is the fact that they're not treating you like some second-rate asshole by making you, okay, you want to buy this multiplayer-only game and you want to be playing it for years to come with all of the content? Well, you have to spend $110 to get all of that. No, you buy the game once, the flat fucking rate. You know? Like, Battlefront, to get the same exact promise of all of the content coming out, to get for the developer to look you in the eye and go, hey, thank you for buying Battlefront. You're going to be playing Battlefront for years to come because we're going to be supporting the game at post-launch vigorously. Oh, but it's also $110. You know?
Pay for all that post-launch support.
And I know exactly that feeling and why people are getting mad with that. It's again, you're getting this this feeling of getting this game that you're going to enjoy for several hundred hours for however many years you're going to play, and then if you do want to play everything, you got to pay more. Which with certain things like an MMO, for example, some people will pay the sub fees, but with those sub fees, you also get a fuck ton of content. That's released. Bi-weekly, monthly, however they do it, especially early on. It's the consumer isn't getting their money's worth the way they see it. Like $60 for a game already is a lot, which I'm aware that I'm aware now. I wasn't when I was a kid that there were Super Nintendo games that were $70. So now I understand why my parents didn't want to buy me shit. But it's a lot of it's hard-earned money, and if the dev team isn't going to listen to the community, it makes matters even worse. So if I go out and I get this brand new shooter, oh, this looks fun as shit, I'll get it. Season pass sounds promising, I'll get that too. And the game's broken, I'm never going to trust that company for the rest of my life.
And I think I just don't. And I don't agree with season passes.
I don't.
It's just you're paying up front for stuff that you do. Most of the time, you don't even know. You might know the first one. Fallout 4 is a prime example. A little off topic, but Fallout 4, their season pass launched at $30, and they showed you, here's the first 3 things we're making. There was one big expansion with 2 small expansions. One of them being just adding things to the settlement stuff, which is cool, but maybe not, worth money. But for $30 for that, and the ones they were going to release later, great. And they were like, hey, we have a lot of great content coming up past this. We want to raise the price of our season pass. And you know what they do after that? 2 more workshop expansions and 1 more big expansion. That's it. Like, maybe it was worth $30, but it wasn't worth raising the price.
Bringing that up, who was the opposite of that, I would say, was Dying Light. Because their season pass did go up in price, but they also, their DLC did bring a map that was bigger than the original game.
It did. Exactly.
And
I was okay with that because they were like, hey, we're going to raise it, and then
everything.
they actually brought better content. And I was like, that's fair.
That's the total opposite.
And they gave people time.
That is far and few between.
I was going somewhere else with that, and I lost it, so it's fine.
You don't agree with season passes?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with it because you don't know what you're getting.
Is that where you're going though? Like,
pretty much, and most of the time you're saving $5-10. You know what? Because I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to buy the 2 major Fallout 4 expansions because that's all I want to play. And like, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but look at CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Right after Witcher 3 released, tons of free DLC. Just, armor, extra outfits for people. Little things, and then they released 2 expansions. And I put almost as much time as I put in the main game into these expansions. Like, the first one was a little shorter, but those 2 expansions together, I put a ton of time in, and they were all great. They had great new characters. And they were worth the money, no doubt. And I think Witcher had a season pass, but I didn't buy it. And I won't, when Cyberpunk 2077, is it?
2077.
2077. When that comes out, I'm confident it's going to be a great game. I won't buy the season pass, though.
I wanna clarify, mostly for myself and for people listening, that none of us are against supporting a developer post-launch by paying for more content.
Obviously.
I will gladly shell out more money for content that's worth it. It's just that out of the gate, the reason why multiplayer-only games and even shorter games, single-player games, have shit slung at them, and why like then those types of games then have a bad name regardless of whether the game is good or not, is that a lot of games that come out of the gate multiplayer only with a not a dry spell of content, just like what you would expect out of a multiplayer component, but a lot of people think that, oh, well, the game's multiplayer only, so it should have more than just 12 maps. Or, it's multiplayer only, so where's all the money they would have spent on the campaign? Well, it probably went into the game itself and the balancing and making sure everything works. You can't just, oh, my game has 50 maps, no, it doesn't work that way. But the reason this game's such a stigma is because of the ones that do come out of the gate, like Battlefront, or the ones that come out like Evolve, that come out and they're so clearly ready to just take your money. But I'm not against paying a developer money for more content. I've never been against. I'm not against map packs per se, as much as I am against the idea of selling those to me before the game's out.
Yeah.
So like you guys would both agree that it isn't the tag of multiplayer only that should be getting the shit, because there are success stories of games that are multiplayer only that have lived on for years that are worth the full price.
Yeah.
The value is there in a multiplayer game. You can get hundreds of hours out of Overwatch. You can get hundreds of hours out of Battlefront. The value's there. But you're not getting the full package of Battlefront for $60 like you are Overwatch or other multiplayer games that don't have season passes. But you guys both agree that the multiplayer only tag isn't the problem. Because whenever somebody sees the fact that a game was multiplayer only, regardless of what the business model is, they saw it with Overwatch. Overwatch isn't worth my $60. There's no campaign.
Even before, right when they first announced they were going to charge for Overwatch, people were like, is Blizzard fucking nuts?
Yeah.
That should be a free-to-play game because it's multiplayer. Like,
yeah.
No.
That fits in well with the thing.
Because then if it was a free-to-play game, we'd be paying
for these characters.
RMR. We'd be paying for new maps.
And they'd probably be like $15.
Which, again, that's not a bad thing, but I'm much happier paying right up front.
Yeah. Give me the game. Give me everything. Like, I want to pay you money up front for this game, and I want the money I gave to you reflect that back with the content, instead of me giving you nothing and then me having to go like, oh man, that new stuff's coming out, that's cool, oh, I don't have enough money for it, fuck. Instead it's like, I paid for that game, I made sure I had enough money for that game right out the gate, all that stuff's coming for free, I can play Overwatch for the rest of my life and not spend a dime on it. That's, well...
So they release Overwatch 2.
Overwatch 2, yeah.
Electric Boogaloo.
So the same argument could also be brought on... It mostly comes from people who don't want to part with their money, and I understand that. And if you're on a tight budget, that's fine. But the fact is, multiplayer only isn't an issue. It's the business models. And it took a while to maybe boil down to that one point. But that's the fact of the matter. And the same thing goes for single-player games that are short. There's nothing wrong with an 8-hour game. I have no problem spending $60 on an 8-hour single-player game. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, like The Order got shitted on real bad.
Yeah, The Order
is so short.
I
loved it.
There are instances like where I can agree. I probably wouldn't spend $60 on The Order. Yeah. I love The Order as well, by the way. I got on record of saying that on my other show. I've gone on record of saying I rented The Order. I beat it in like 3 days.
I rented it and it like broke my PS4, so I never finished it.
Like I really enjoyed the game, and it could have had it use a lot more content. I don't think it's worth $60. I think there are some cases where it's like, yeah, that's I don't mind spending $30 on The Order or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But like there are games that come out like replay value. Where's the replay value? It's like, I mean, like, does every game need like 400 collectibles? Does every game need a mode where you could turn on big?
Yeah,
they're nice additions, but like
pseudo gameplay.
Yeah,
like collectibles. Yeah. It works for some games, absolutely.
Ways to artificially increase it.
But like, I wouldn't consider hidden packages in GTA to be gameplay enhancing.
No, I do like 20 of them, and I go, okay, fuck.
Yeah.
Collectibles. Ubisoft's notorious for padding their games out that way.
Every single one.
Right.
I am perfectly fine with a game distilling its essence down to an 8 to 10 hour experience than beating me over the head with excessive padding.
Yeah, and if you're gonna put in collectibles, don't make it, gather 65 of this, 180 of that. No, give me like 5 and tell me where they are.
That was the worst
then I'll
thing.
go grab it.
That was the worst thing about getting the swords in Destiny. Is you have to farm these things that are completely unreliable.
That sucked.
That was awful. I mean, they've learned a lot from
Bungie,
stuff like that.
Rise of Iron's coming out. Don't make me do that again.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They didn't make us do it to get the Taken swords.
Yeah, we just got that. That was pretty easy to get. But especially nowadays, like there's so many games coming out. I don't want to play a game for like 80 hours every time. Like a game isn't worth $60 just because it's 80 hours long.
Yeah.
I am perfectly fine with getting an 8 to 10 hour experience, 8 to 12 hour. Same, Uncharted.
How long was Uncharted? Yeah.
It's a good example of it. Uncharted
that game was
1
worth my money just because it was a great game that these developers obviously spent a lot of time and effort on.
The game, the value.
Not to mention it has some multiplayer. And it's actually surprisingly good.
Uncharted multiplayer is great. Uncharted's at this point a $60 package. I think most people would agree is worth $60. You're not going to find anybody going, well.
But even without the multiplayer,
I
think it's a game that was worth my money.
Yeah.
Even though I rented
it. No, I mean for sure.
I would have bought it, and I'll probably buy it eventually just to support.
Yeah, it's like you said. It's the experience you get. Are you enjoying yourself? Is it entertaining? Replay value means dick if you're not having fun.
Yeah.
And I keep using that word because there are a lot of people that forget that video games are for fun.
That replay value doesn't mean, you're going to start over right away. Like, The Last of Us doesn't have replay value, but I'm going to replay that game at some point.
Yeah. It has replay value because it's a good fucking game.
Yeah.
Not because they checked some imaginary box. Well, our game needs to have this, it needs to have this, it needs to have this. Yeah. No, they made a great game that stands on its own. It doesn't need all that stuff. And you'll replay it. It's worth having on your shelf. It's worth spending full price.
I replay the Mass Effect trilogy every year. The whole trilogy. Because I love those games. That's replay value. That's a whole month almost every time.
Yeah. Value in games. A mixed pixel story. Yeah. Nice. Good.
Right.
I like it. I assume we'll all be checking out Evolve once it goes free to play on PlayStation 4. Yeah. It worked. It worked on us. What are the odds of Battleborn going free to play?
It's probably pretty likely. I'm pretty sure its player base is already down a lot.
It's down like 500 concurrent players.
And I mean, I played in the beta and it was enjoyable enough. It had a campaign even. I wouldn't say it wasn't a game worth the money.
Battleborn's one of those experiences where it's like everyone is like so like hell bent on like shitting on a multiplayer only game. There's no single player, then it automatically sucks. It's automatically not worth my money. I'm ignoring the fact that the business model is perfectly respectable to the player. So fuck it. But Battleborn comes out.
I don't think Gearbox made any mistakes.
No, Battleborn comes out. I think they made some mistakes in not the game itself. I think Gearbox had the unfortunate incident of going up against Overwatch.
Yeah.
I think they also had the unfortunate incident of trying to ape so hard off of their Borderlands style.
Yeah.
Like every character, like in all the marketing,
it's like it's a little too much.
Are you ready to save the world, you bunch of badasses? It's like not anymore. Like no,
you can play as a tiny penguin and a giant robot.
Not anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want to spout some memes off with my guns?
Yeah.
My gun shoots memes, and I'm ready to be a badass. I'm Duke Nukem's piece of shit. I came out of Duke Nukem's ass, and I'm in a video game. I'm Gearbox. I'm so funny.
Yeah.
Like
it's a little much.
I love Borderlands.
Yeah.
Those games are so fun, and they are funny. Like I like Gearbox's style, but I think they could have maybe toned back some of the way they marketed it. I think they could have toned back the game itself in terms of its personality. But they made no mistakes. There's a campaign with multiplayer.
Which is funny.
And what it did accomplish in the beta is making me sort of enjoy a MOBA, but I don't think enough for me to buy it because it's just
it would have been interesting if they would have kept.
it.
Oh, sorry. If they would have kept their styling from Borderlands like they sort of did, and just kind of go for a very similar tone of when they were more known for Brothers in Arms, which would have been a little interesting to have that sort of style, visual style, with that sort of more, with less memes.
Yeah.
Essentially, because they are kind of just riding off the coattails of Borderlands.
Yeah. You're gonna buy this because
it sucks because again I love Borderlands also, but it's almost like they're like, well fuck, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And
they're like, we don't have 3 ready at all, so we got to release something.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? Like Jose's the only person who remembers Brothers in Arms. What are we gonna do now? So this is what they came up with.
Here's the thing with Battleborn, and then we'll move on to our icebreaker question of the week. Is I always feel bad when a game comes out and fails. And I feel bad for the developers who worked on Evolve, because not every one of them is involved in the decision making behind the monetization of these games. That's handled by people who are maybe in a entirely different room than the people who are doing the art, who are doing the music, who are doing the mechanics. The guy who designed the Trapper.
Sometimes it could be pressure from the publisher as well.
The guy who designed the Trapper isn't the guy who decided to charge you $8 for a fucking hunter. It's totally different. So I always feel bad,
Yeah,
when
the other guy's a
like
dick.
these guys spend so many years making these games, and they're so excited about it. They go home from work and they probably like, oh man, I'm so excited that people play this game. When it comes out, and that was 500 people a day playing Battleborn, and the game's a
And they
colossal
spend years of their
failure,
life on
and
it.
they're like the butt of every joke because of Overwatch, and like
And that's rough.
yeah, like I can't imagine. It's gotta suck. So, but I mean, for Evolve, they get a second chance with free to play. You know what I mean? And Battleborn, there's certainly a chance for the game to resuscitate itself through free to play. It's a matter of when. You got to imagine it's going to happen at some point. It's a MOBA. It's basically prime time for free to play.
Yeah.
And then they can just release paid characters like all the others.
Yeah, exactly. There's ways to fix it.
And it's definitely in its future.
Only a
But
matter
I'm
of
not sure
time.
how long that will.
Only a matter of time. But yeah, so nice. Good to know. Good to know. Value in games. Multiplayer only is not the end of the world. Neither are short games. There are exceptions. Icebreaker of the week. Da-da-da. Oh, baby. I'm gonna ask my buddy some questions so you can get to know them. It's episode 2. What am I gonna do? Make up a song for you.
You're doing that every week now.
Make up a
They're
song?
good. They're gonna expect it.
Because I just told them to
So,
expect it.
like last week, I had asked these gentlemen after we were done recording here if they were still a kid, what would be the first thing they do when they get home? What would be the first game they pop on to play? So these questions are ways for us to introduce ourselves to people who are new to the podcast. There are maybe some people who are not so new to me from Permanent Podcast, any crossover listeners or whatever. But these two gentlemen are totally brand new to a lot of your eyeballs, and I'd rather not spend a whole episode dedicated to what's your favorite game, all that stuff. So I'm devising a question every week basing around send me some pics based around prodding at their past and getting to know them as gamers and everything. So this week's question, and I will start with who did I start with last week? Start with you.
Start with me.
Start with Rob. I'll start with Jose this week. Every gamer, everybody who plays games kind of has that genre that they are comfortable with, and like the genre that they play the most, and for me it's MMOs, for Jose it's shooters, for Rob, what is it?
I'm probably single player.
Single player, like RPGs, would you say?
I do play RPGs. I play action adventure a lot.
So, narrative driven games.
Yes. Yeah,
for you, for the most part. At some point in our lives, we took a liking to that. It didn't just happen. There was a game in that genre. There was a moment while experiencing that genre that it just kind of clicked, and you just kind of got comfortable, and it became your favorite. Jose, what is the moment, or what is the game? It doesn't have to be a specific game or like a time period or whatever. What is the game or moment or experience that you had that that saw you take a liking to your favorite genre that you have today? Like, what made you the man you are in that genre today?
Return to Castle Wolfenstein. How old was I? 16, 17 at the time? I first played Counter-Strike. My cousin, when I was visiting him, I was staying over at his house for the weekend. And he's like, we're going to go meet up with some of my buddies. We're going to go hit up an internet cafe, which only exists in Asia now. And we're gonna play some Counter-Strike. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. So we go and he's like, I'll pay for you, pay for my hours there, whatever. And I sat down and I'm like, how the fuck do I play this? I don't know. Showed me how to place my fingers, grab the mouse. First round goes off. I kill 3 guys with my handgun. I'm excited. I'm like, whoa.
It's the rush.
And then I got completely slaughtered after that. But it was fun. And I was like, okay, I'll play that again sometime. And then stood at a friend's house overnight. We didn't have internet at the time, so I used to download all my music there. And and he had Return to Castle Wolfenstein. And I had just been fresh playing. This was maybe like a week or two after playing Counter-Strike. I'm like, oh, okay, this has multiplayer also. Let me try it out. I get there, and here we are on the fucking beaches during World War II or whatever, and there's the whole different mechanic of gameplay, different classes, this teamwork. They have to go in, rush to get the objective, bring the objective back, all this other shit, and I'm like, this is great. I can do this. And I started playing. I was telling him, "Oh, have you ever tried the multiplayer?" He's like, "No, I don't care about it." And he watched me play until he fell asleep, and then he woke up and I was still playing. And I would go to his house every fucking weekend just to play. I completely ignored him. I would just go straight to his computer, play Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and that's all I played. And that's when I got hooked. That's when I got hooked to shooters in general, because then at that time your big shooters were like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. Not too much multiplayer, with the exception of those two that did have multiplayer. It was really fun, but and then you had more shooters coming out with multiplayer aspects like Time Splitters, which I still want a new Time Splitters, like a lot of people do. But yeah, Return to Castle Wolfenstein set the fire in my soul to kill people with teammates.
That's a good answer. I like that. Experiencing an online shooter for the first time is something like that's special to me. Mm-hmm. And like while that's not maybe my genre of choice for this question, like I'll never forget playing Halo 2 for the first time with my cousins and my friends, and like that was the first online shooter I ever played besides Counter-Strike. I think a lot of people probably dip their toes into Counter-Strike at some point before anything else, because like PC shooters had multiplayer before console shooters did, like online multiplayer.
Way before.
So like Counter-Strike and Unreal and you know all the Half-Life mods and all that stuff are really huge. Quake. But Halo 2 was my first big like jump into like, oh, I'm gonna log on, I'm gonna get into matchmaking, and I'm gonna shoot people, and like just the rush of like, oh man, I have a username, and oh my god, I killed that guy, and oh my god, I was player of the game, or I had the most kills, or oh man, I just took that guy out with a rocket, or you know, just all of the things that make a great spontaneous experience. Because I think that's one of the important things about a really great multiplayer shooter, and that's why Battlefield does so well with a lot of people, is that like that spontaneity of like shit just happening, and like they take the players, that you could pick your guns, you could pick your class, the other team is put on that side of the map, and now it's up to those two teams to just, okay, meet here or meet there, or shoot somebody over here, or go where you want, blow up what you want, do what you want to do within the limitations of the game, obviously, but it's all up to the action is so player oriented, and like just the rush of to quote Pure Ownage, the old web series of FPS Doug, the hunt of rushing people down and killing them. Like it
is true. It is true.
There's something about it. The bloodlust. It's in all of us, man. And shooters give you that. But then, like, of course, like with Wolfenstein and Battlefield, you know, there's other roles you can play, medic and engineer, and there's so many things that get you involved, and it's super great. That's why the genre is still so popular, and why a lot of the biggest games that come out every year are FPS games with multiplayer components, and why we spent 45 minutes talking about free-to-play and pay-to-play and whatever else bad business model FPS games in the middle of this episode. You know, it's because they're such a large cornerstone of our life. So it's interesting I always love hearing people's like origin stories with FPS games, because like everyone has started in one of those areas, whether it's Counter-Strike, Battlefield, or Halo, or Unreal, or whatever, and it's always some really awesome story of like, oh, I played at a friend's house or an internet cafe, or you hear Jeff Kaplan talk at Blizzard about how they always play the Team Fortress Classic and all that stuff, and like the communities around those games back then are so interesting to me, and like just the sheer bare bones nature of them, and just like they were so skill oriented, and like I love looking at the history of games and old games. That's why like I love hearing people's stories about them. But yeah, no, shooters are infectious, but yeah. I guess before I ask you, Rob, was there a multiplayer shooter that you had played that like your first one that was like, oh man, this is cool. Like, I just shot that guy and he died. He's real.
Well, I just shot this guy. It's real feeling from some single player games, but when you're shooting a real person, yeah, it's different. But I think Halo 2 was my first single player shooter.
Okay, so we're in the same boat.
Same for you. And it was great though, because like vehicles in it. It was great. Just run around the Warthog, run people over.
Yeah.
Fight over who gets to take the Banshee. And yeah, I think just Halo 2, like, can't remember the name of the map because I haven't played Halo in ages.
Oh, Zanzibar, Lockout, Coagulation.
Which was the 2 forts on either side.
Midship. Oh, that's Coag, I think. Coagulation.
Coag. It sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just playing games on there, and this was back in the early time of the internet, for games, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Where you didn't look something up, you went to the forums. And you learned about how to flip the tanks and, like, go flying in the air. and all these weird like tricks and bugs of the game, how to get up to this sniper perch.
I remember doing super jump. You ever do super jumps in Halo 2? Where like you're like on some maps, there's like a little corner, and like you crouch and you nestle into that corner and you walk for like 30 seconds and you turn around, and if you jump off this ledge at the precise moment and land on this little crack on Ascension, your character will bounce and fly so high that you land on the sniper tower and you can get on top of it. And people would do that in games. They never passed them and left them in forever.
Yeah.
And like those are always like setting up custom games and doing that, and the communities that formed around super bouncing. There was one on like every map you found them. I don't know if they're intentionally put in there or not. Like how the fuck people found how that if I walk into this corner and crouch and then jump into this crack, I will bounce so high in the air, But it was great. It was great. So Rob, your genre of choice is what again? You can clarify because we kind of just brushed over everybody's.
I've always played pretty much everything, but I think the ones that are always special to me are RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of them: action RPGs, JRPGs.
Yeah.
Turn-based, whatever. Like Dragon Quest VIII.
I kind of knew you were going to say that for some reason.
Yeah, Dragon Quest VIII was like my first big RPG. Like I've played some of the older ones. I played a little bit of other games that I can't remember the names. But Dragon Quest VIII was when I really got into it. Because Dragon Quest VIII is a JRPG in the truest sense of the word. That game goes on and on and on. There's tons of characters, many different ways you can take your moves. Your character's not voiced. You got a rat with a mohawk. You feed it cheese so it can breathe fire. And I mean, just... The female character literally pulls her shirt down. You don't see it, but that's a move in the game because it's Japanese and it's weird. and I've just always been... I was a kid. It was the summer. I bought this game in August. And even though it was a single-player game, there was still a sense of community because I played it with a friend.
Yeah.
And we bought the strategy guide eventually. We saved up, bought the strategy guide, and we just played the hell out of that game. And I just run around in this area farming. Like a big thing in Dragon Quest VIII is farming, and you farm the
grinding.
metal slimes.
Grinding's a huge.
And not only is it hard to get them to show up in the areas they're supposed to show up, they run away, and they have defense that's like through the roof. So you have to use special moves. And but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding out where they were and trying to beat them because there's the king metal slimes, and they give you obscene amounts of experience. And their inventory management. I don't know why, but that's fun. It's part of the reason the old Resident Evil games are fun, if we're being honest, is inventory management. And it's just always been a big thing for me. Ni no Kuni came out a couple of years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
And it was also a great game. And Dragon Quest VIII introduced me to monster hunting in a way that Pokemon didn't. Similar to Pokemon, but you capture monsters in the world, and you take them to an arena, and you make them fight other monsters. And so you want to go around and you want to find the best ones. And I always thought that was fun. And it also story goes into bounty missions where you have to find them. And I've always loved bounty missions in any game, like Red Dead Redemption's bounties.
Yeah.
I love it. If you put bounties in a game, I'll play it forever.
Something about the Russia hunting people down and killing them.
Exactly. And so, Dragon Quest was always a big deal for me, and RPGs have just always been great, even though it takes a long time.
There's something unspeakable, or that's hard to put your finger on exactly about playing Dragon Quest VIII. I never played it myself, but for example, playing any kind of whimsical, just super. Not out there. Dragon Quest VIII isn't oh man, you're tripping balls playing that game. But I mean something that's so well imagined as a kid. Yeah. When you're sitting down and playing Dragon Quest VIII as a kid, or you're sitting there and playing Final Fantasy as a kid, or Morrowind, even to give a Western example, and you're absorbing yourself in these worlds as a kid. There's a different. You absorb it differently than you would now. Our age now. I don't know how kids absorb games. I'm not a kid anymore. I don't know how they see games like that. But, as a kid, when I'm playing Final Fantasy or I'm playing Tales of Symphonia or, I'm playing any JRPG, there's a... like I said before I even started this point, is that it's kind of hard to put your finger on it. Mm-hmm. The way that you just absorb yourself in that world as a kid, your imagination running on high, it sticks with you for the rest of your life.
Everything makes sense.
Yeah, it sticks with you forever.
Fallout 3 was a big one for me. Yeah. Even though it came out on the PS3, later... It was a big game for me, a big action RPG that really helped me get into that genre. Even more so than I already was. Because, I played Diablo 2, obviously, and that's an action RPG in a different sense. And, RPGs are big. I like them especially, and they're always, they tie into narrative.
Yeah.
Especially JRPGs, the narrative just keeps going, and they
You're saving
fill it
the
with
world, baby.
plot twists and turns, and like this guy was evil, but wait, no, he's not actually evil.
There's
You know,
nothing
you
like
have
the
these
rush
moments.
of hunting down the bad guy and saving the world. But yeah, nice.
And that's
I like that.
That's that.
I like that. For me, it would probably be RPGs.
Mhm.
If it weren't for MMORPGs,
Yeah.
as my genre of choice.
Yeah.
And I've always been big in RPGs. You know, like my biggest RPG as a child, or not as a child, like I'm a 6-year-old kid playing this, but as a kid, was Morrowind, The Elder Scrolls 3.
Yeah.
Huge game for me. It developed my love of Western fantasy completely. You know, it drew me into a world like that and got me interested in things like elves and orcs and...
Yeah, I guess I'd say Oblivion pulled me in before Fallout did.
Yeah, because it came out beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So Morrowind was a big proponent in getting me into that kind of fantasy and stuff like that. So, after that, I discovered RuneScape. And for the better part of my my end of grade school years, from 5th to about 8th grade, I played RuneScape and nothing but RuneScape. And I'll never forget, like, loading... That was probably a lot of people's first MMO alongside EverQuest. You know, it depends on when you were born.
It was like my only.
If you were born like the late 80s, EverQuest was probably your first MMO.
Yeah.
If you're born like in the early 90s, RuneScape was probably your first jump into it because it was so easy to just get it. It was free. You play it in your browser. You don't have to do anything. So, but when I first stepped into RuneScape, like, I'd never played an MMO before. I'd played like Halo 2. You know, like I'd played online games, but I've never played in a massively multiplayer world before. So logging into RuneScape, wasn't entirely sure what to do. For like a year of playing RuneScape, I never leveled up my combat level. I just walked around.
I didn't level my combat for the long. I could smith full rune, and I'd like level 3
Can't
combat.
even wear the shit. Yeah.
My cooking level was probably my highest.
Walking around looking like a bot.
There was like this thing outside the Grand Exchange where you had to be a certain cooking level to go in, and everything's there.
Yeah.
I was there every day. And then, like, somewhere way down the line, I was like, I should do quests.
Yeah, it hit me, you know?
And then I finally did them, and the quests are great.
Yeah.
They're still great, because I downloaded it a few months
RuneScape?
ago to go back and have a little nostalgia trip, and it's still fun.
RuneScape gets a lot of poop, but it gets a lot of poop, I think, because people don't understand the quality of the content that's inside of RuneScape. They look at it as, a game that looks like Play-Doh, or a game that you can play in your browser, so it's not a real game, or, it's just a Flash baby game, or whatever. But, it being my first MMO and it introducing me into the genre, bless you, by the way, Rob, yawning man, is that...
Rob Yanni.
It's the way that the game forces well, not anymore so much, even on old school RuneScape, the Grand Exchange is there, so but the way the game forced the community to interact, the way that you had to sell stuff by advertising it in person. You had to walk, I want to sell all this shit. I can't just go plop it on an auction house and go take a shit. You had to walk in, stand in the bank, or stand in the marketplace and go like, I'm selling 1,000 flax. I would like this much money for it. You wouldn't say it like a gentleman like that. You'd like, I'm selling flux.
Even post-Grand Exchange. I mean, I had my fishing level up too, naturally, because I did it with my cooking.
Yeah.
And eventually I'd just go fish lobsters, cook lobsters, and then you go to the wilderness, to the arena, and you just stand there. I was like, hey, selling lobbies.
So
I'd make a ton of money off of that.
So RuneScape was my first MMO.
Not to mention sitting there fishing. You just talk to me.
Yeah, that's just the social aspect of it.
The social aspect of MMOs is the best thing about MMOs.
I love RPGs. And so like what made MMOs my favorite genre is the fact that like once I turn that RPG off and like go to bed for the night, that world is in pause mode until I get back to it. What's so amazing about MMOs, and even the current set of MMOs, some of them are a little easier than others, it's still a fascinating genre to me because like when you log off that game, that world is still alive. There's players still playing it at all hours of the day. There's still players doing things in it. There's still players selling things, making friends, making enemies, all while I'm taking a nap or taking a poop. Like I go ahead and pause Final Fantasy VII, and that game world is stopped. Cloud is frozen in time as I'm pooping. He hates it when I poop. But the NPCs in WoW don't hate it when I poop because they have tons of people. Sorry if people don't like poop. But I'm going to keep saying that word, poop. But what made me fall in love with MMOs and made me go like, okay, this is the genre I'll be playing for the rest of my life was vanilla WoW. It was Burning Crusade WoW. That period of time in the game where I played that and played it for... I've been playing WoW for over a decade, as many people have been, is playing that game and RuneScape was great, and I think RuneScape's quest writing is fantastic, and its lands are really great. But there is a sense of exploration that comes with the detail of playing a game that doesn't look like RuneScape, and exploring Azeroth for the first time, and why Azeroth is my favorite fictional universe in all the video games completely, is because of all of the world that Blizzard has created inside of that game, that living and breathing world that they made, that I explored as an 8th grader, all throughout my adult life, that I've been living inside of that game, and that, like, my original character is still alive, he's max level still, you know, he's still, the connection you form with an MMO that you're playing for years is so great. And that lasts throughout a lifetime instead of me watching the end credits roll and, okay, well, I got the post-game dungeon and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, playing WoW and doing the instances and ninja looting by accident for the first time and like meeting all these friends and doing these 40-man raids, you know, as a 13-year-old kid, you know, these people putting up with me in voice chat, you know, and
I've heard those stories.
Yeah, and just all of these, the feeling of that, you know, of like, I don't need any other games but this, because it made me fall in love with MMOs. I'm so fascinated by online living worlds, and I really hope, while the MMOs are still fine, Final Fantasy XIV is great, ESO is great, I really hope someone comes along and, like, kicks the genre in its ass, because it has grown somewhat stale over the years. You know, all the games are pretty much the same. Either you're playing WoW, a game like WoW, or a game that failed. You know, and that's just the nature of the genre now. But World of Warcraft was the moment for me that I fell in love with MMOs. Yeah. Nice. That was the icebreaker! Before we end the episode, I want to give a congratulations to Hello Games for No Man's Sky going gold. There's not much we can really say about that because we don't know much, you know, I mean, the game comes out in a month. We'll have more to say about No Man's Sky as it gets closer, as I'm sure they ramp up their marketing, as I'm sure we see more, and as we get our hands on it ourselves. But congratulations, because that game can not have been easy to make. As like 8 people, they have like one of the smallest dev teams I've ever seen for a game of this scope, and a game of this magnitude when it comes to hype. People are hyping this game the hell and back, and the pressure that they're probably under is crazy. You know, I remember when the game was delayed, the dude got death threats. Like, dude, it got delayed 2 months. Fucking relax, you know. Like,
you got death threats, and the people that reported got death threats.
Yeah. So outrageous. I can't imagine the pressure. I can't imagine how good it feels to know what the game has done and to see it. Yeah. Well, hey, what's a way to start the podcast off? You know, podcast life.
We're gonna read our death threats if we get them.
Yeah, it'll be like fan mail instead of fan questions. It's death threats. Yeah. So congratulations to them. That's great news. I'm super excited to play it. As are all of us. We're all excited to get our hands on No Man's Sky, and I hope it turns out well for them because they deserve it. And Sean Murray's a good dude. So.
In our final statements, I just want to say I believe the word is monetize. And you said monetize quite a few times.
Yes.
Well.
Get up.
When you're saying like the word monetization, I guess you could say monetization, but
you could be right. They might both work. I don't know.
But you could also be wrong.
I know monetize is a real word, and I don't know if monetize is a real word.
I mean, it's the same word. I'm just saying it differently. You know, I didn't like make up a new word. You know, monetize is still spelled MONET.
Well, you would know because you made it up.
ZE. And that's how you spell monetize. I just pronounce it differently. Like how I say pidget instead of pidgeot. You know, we all live in our own little world. We hope you do too, and we hope you include us.
That world is fun.
Yeah, and it includes us most of all. Mixed Pixel Podcast. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at @AMixedPixel. You can follow me at Peppered Ham. You can follow my buddies here, Jose at Look at My Head, and Rob at Team's Third Sniper. You can find us on Facebook. Search up Mixed Pixel. Links will be in the description down below. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Share us with your friends. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email us at mixedpixelpodcast@gmail.com. Leave them in the comments down below. You can tweet it at any one of us individually or leave a tweet at the Twitter
account. If you have
account.
any questions, general questions, like what's your favorite pizza topping?
We'll do fan questions. Ask them away.
Do you?
There will be a moment.
What do you read when you poop?
There will be a moment where I run out of icebreaker questions. So fan questions will be a great addition to that.
Yeah.
But mostly, yes. Just let us know what you think. Let us know if we're doing a good job. Today's episode ran a little longer.
Let us know
than
we're
I was
doing a
expecting.
shitty job too.
I would like to know. Yeah, how we're doing. Shitty, good, poopy, great. You know.
Would you recommend us to your grandmother?
Maybe I'll figure out a way to monetize this podcast in the future with a Patreon. Monetize. Monetize. I do understand where maybe the misunderstanding comes from the way I pronounce it. It sounds like I'm saying mott, like Mott's applesauce. But I am saying monetize. I am saying monetize.
You're definitely not. You're not.
We'll see you next week.